Hey, my wandering wanderers. Today we're going to be talking about the twin flame construct slash divine counterparts. This is actually going to be, this is like part three, but this is actually going to be about the shadow work. Like my notes moved, and I was just like, oh yeah. So this is going to be about shadow work. I would like to make a note slash disclaimer that this is about this is inherently based off of my own construct of spirituality, where it's like me returning back to myself, and so all this information is based off of my own experiences. So please remember to take the time to experience slash experiment slash experience this information and discern it for yourselves. Okay. That being said, twin flame experience and the shadow work. What is shadow work? Shadow work is literally the trials and cycles that we go through. Like, shadow work is literally like the bullshit, the shits. It's the shits. It's the cycles of the shits, and it's like the cycles of the shits in the context of things that have been mentally bothering you, or reoccurring things, or recurring feelings, or you know, the shits that you guys know what I mean. I feel like it's the shits. But taking time to be cognizant of the shits is like literally the opportunity to do shadow work. Okay, it's literally just trials and cycles of things that keep reoccurring, that you keep going through, and eventually, like when you're getting frustrated, just like, why does this keep happening to me? Like that's literally the clue that hey, it's time to do shadow work. How does I say that? Like shadow counter. But and reason why this is heavily important. Oh no, we'll get back to that. So shadow work falls into two categories. Two categories. The first category of shadow work is healing of your inner child. And because most of the shadow stuff that you're going through is inherently linked to your inner child, but also the other category of shadow work is purifying your energetic signature. Okay, and the reason why shadow work falls into these two categories is because your energetic signature is inherently linked to your inner child, and so whenever you have issues, inner child issues, or issues understanding your own energetic signature, it's inherently linked to that. So, if you do not take the time to heal components, parts, constructs of your inner child, it prevents you from purifying what your energetic signature is. At the same time, if you're having troubles purifying components of your energetic signature, it is because there are parts or components of your inner child that not steal, but steal. Okay, we'll get back to that still need to be healed. Okay, so that being said, the reason why healing your inner child and purifying your energetic signature is heavily important is because this is kind of like your energetic call sign to your divine counterpart. And I say this because when you get to this point where you are working on summoning a divine counterpart, until these components are clear with efficacy. What does efficacy have to do with this? Well, we'll get back to that. It will be once you do that and it is clear, you're going to be able to pull in that divine counterpart. Like they're gonna come through and be like, they're gonna come through and be like, hey, what did you so this is why it's heavily important to take the time to do the shadow work, because if you do not identify and purify these parts, it's just going to waylay this process, okay? So clues to recognize, or additional clues to recognize where shadow never mind. Clues to recognize where shadow work could be done. So any instance where you're having reoccurring thoughts, feelings that keep coming up, emotions that keep coming up, it's like that thought that just won't go away. It's kind of like that stain that just won't come out the sheet. The stain, what is that? It's kind of akin to the armpit stains that won't come out your shirt. It's like that. Or if you're having instances where you're kind of feeling like a rock in a hard place, where you're kind of disoriented or torn, or feeling ambivalent between expressing or projecting or conveying what your truth may be, or having a moment where there may be a need to emotionally walk away from things that don't serve you from a foundational perspective, things that don't serve you from because it's no longer in alignment with you, and that's something that you may be struggling with in the context of and or expressing to whatever the situation is. That is a clue where shadow work needs to be done. And instances where this may be noticeable would be like, or instances where you may be cognizant where you may need to do shadow work would be if there is a constant struggle between what you want and what you're getting. That may be a clue that shadow work is needed, because it's inherently linked to that. Doing shit that you are not in alignment with. This is like another clue that shadow work is needed. Like if you're out here, following the crowd and you see a pathway to deviate from the crowd, but you don't feel comfortable doing it, that's a sign to do shadow work. Another thing is not paying attention to the signs. Like sometimes like the universe will throw you signs where, hey, you should probably you should probably take the time to do shadow work and work on this. And if you're not paying attention to the subtle nuances of spirit, like that's a clue that you should probably take the time to do some shadow work. That being said, like, you're gonna know you're doing the work because it's gonna be a lot easier to identify when you are actually being resistant to the things that you need. Like sometimes when you take the time to actually do the work, you start to realize that in some instances you may be blocking your own blessings. I know my hands are like, you may be blocking your own blessings, but also other times you also know when you're doing the work is because you're going to be you'll be able to recognize what is in alignment for you and what is out of alignment for you, and you'll be able to comprehend why. And another thing is that when you're going to be you're in the process of doing the work, because you're going to be cognizant of the signs that you're receiving and what they mean for you. Like, for example, like for me, it's like if I'm talking about stuff and like the phone's going off, like you already know. But that's just for me. That being said, you are going to know and be aware that you are healing if you're going back through these trials. So if you're going back through the shits, like you're going to be cognizant, like, oh man, the shit's happening again, right? Like, you're going to be aware that that the healing is happening is because you trust yourself enough to trust the process. You trust yourself to the point where you understand how you function, and that you understand and comprehend that certain things are meant for you, that certain things that you're going through, even though parts of you used to feel like you shouldn't do it because you shouldn't trust it, but because you're going through this twin flame process and you understand / comprehend how you work, you're finally capable of trusting that the things that you're going through, you're supposed to be going through, okay? Or another thing you're going to understand that you're healing is that when you are going through the cycles of the shits, and you're able to see the triggers, like you're literally going to see the triggers of the trauma that used to set you off, and you're not going to be fazed by it. When I say you're not going to be fazed by it, like you're not going to be triggered. You're not, like, I don't mean like, oh yeah, I'm not fazed by it. No, like, no. Like, when I say you're literally not going to be fazed by it, it's like you're kind of like going to see it happen, and you're just going to be like, okay. It's going to be like, okay. In some instances, you're going to see it, and you're just going to be like, it may be like a stark experience for some of you. Like for me, for instance, like I had an experience where like, you know, like someone was saying something. It was kind of like one of those underlying statements where someone's like, oh yeah, that's nice, but it'd be even better if you didn't, but you know. And so like, but this time when I had that experience, it was kind of like, it was frozen, if that makes sense. Maybe that's, and that might be just that might be just for me, but just to give you an example, like you're not going to be fazed by it because it's kind of like you're going to see it happening, and it's just like, okay, you know. So that being said, not to go off the deep end, okay, but that being said, if you take the time to do the work, it means that you are healing. So healing in the context of doing the work means that you understand why you recognize the cycle and the signs from it, and why you recognize the trauma from it. And this is a key component that you guys cannot rush. Like, you cannot rush healing. Like healing doesn't give a shit. Like, healing's gonna take its time to heal, you know. But I will admit, the more you take the time to understand how you function, the more it may respawn, the more it may propagate. It's kind of like the more you recognize it, the easier it is for you to recognize the signs. The easier, there you go. And I understand why it says respawn. The easier it is to get back on your feet and kind of like roll with the punches, especially in the context of shadow work, because like you know, like it's gonna keep coming, but at the same time you'll be better equipped for it. It's kind of like, if I had to describe shadow work in the nutshell, it's kind of like the game Rogue Legacy, where like, you know, like you play as a character that has X amount of stats, and you run through the castle, and as you take time to explore the castle, you'll die, but you get to play as a family member, and you get to continue where they left off, and you keep going forward, and eventually, like, the more that you play, you know, the more experience that you, oh shit, I'm having a hard time speaking, the more experience that you have going through these levels, right? That being said, take the time to become self-aware of these cycles, and they'll make you more authentic and vulnerable to the nuances of your energetic signature. This is important because this will also keep you in check with the integrity of your own inner child. So, your inner child will never lead you astray. At the same time, owning your own energetic signature will help bring your inner child and signature in balance, which will in turn, you know, give you the summons to help pull in your it'll help give you the summons to pull in your divine partnerships, but also your divine counterpart. The more you purify the signature, the more it kind of puts out the classifications of the divine counterpart, but also it helps explain why you are pulling in certain people, if that makes sense. Because, you know, it's a signature. This is why you're pulling in divine partnerships. At the same time, this is also inherently linked to why you're pulling in a divine counterpart. I think I'm repeating myself. Yeah, I think I'm repeating myself. I hope that this video was helpful for you. I know it's guidelines. I know I can't give too deep of information about the work because everybody's work is unique to them and only them, like to them and their experiences. But I do know that this is a generalized overview that will help give some people an identification of what it is that they're trying to work on / figure out, because there's nothing more frustrating than trying to come through and do the work and everyone's like, what the fuck's the work? What is the work? Like, this is the work. This is the work. However healing your inner child is linked to your work, or however purifying your energetic signature is related to your work, like that's the focus. That being said, I do know there's going to be a part 4. Yep, there's going to be a part 4, and it's about, I think it's going to be about the fail-safes of the system. So like, whenever you guys feel like you're off track, like there are things, there are trials that we must go through. Yes, I know. The trials that you go through, you'll figure out your fail-safes, but keep that in mind, that the premise of the fail-safes are kind of like clues to pay attention to, I think. I digress. I hope this video was helpful for you. Please remember to only take what resonates with you, and have a wonderful day.